Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited to be joined by my friend and business partner, Mr. Michael Vincent, Mr. Podcaster Extraordinaire. We work together on sustainability initiatives, fuel reduction. We also have this big thing going on with the SaaS database called
Huge.
TruckingTowerLeads. And we've got over 14,000 executives that actually have a fleet of trucks, right? Carriers. And you've got contact details, MC number, DOT number, engine counts. We've taken all this disparate information and put it in one
Yeah.
to save you guys out there hundreds and hundreds of hours if you're working to get in touch with fleets and not, spend your time chasing consultants and freight brokers and all these other things as far as contact details. So we've got that going on. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing fabulous. I also heard, and I think my mic's up too loud, maybe not. I also heard that there's backup to that. There's support in those leads, right? Like sales support, like automated sales campaigns and how to utilize the data. I also heard that the data is going to be enriched very shortly and often updated
Right.
for more information, right? So that's going to be
True.
big stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also competitive business intelligence for your
Yes.
sales teams, right? So like
Yeah.
what telematics are they using? What in-dash camera system, whatever it may be that you need to know that would help you streamline your sales. So we offer sales automation as well as intelligence. And we're continuing to build that out more and more all the time. So that's a lot of fun. I really enjoy
And
that
even
work.
customized intelligence, right?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Customized. That's right. Yeah, we've got a deal going with a 5-question survey as we speak, and it'll just continue to enrich the data, right? As we go.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. But if we don't have the data and you need it, call us. We'll go get it for you.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we can get it done. That's awesome stuff, brother. It's an interesting week, though, my friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yesterday I saw this this news, and we've been talking about it probably for about a week or so at least on Reuters. About half of the nation's ocean shipping dock workers strike. So
Yeah.
this is affecting from Maine through Texas. And it says in this article, the strike could cost the economy an estimated $5 billion a day. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And the sad part is, as I think you and I have been talking about this more than they've been negotiating in like the last 6 months. You know what I mean? You see these, they haven't even spoken in like months, right? Leading up to this. And, you talk to the Commerce Secretary of the United States and stuff. Well, I haven't really been paying attention to this. I mean, are you kidding me? The entire East Coast ports are now shut down.
Right. All the way down through Texas,
Yeah, and that's what I mean. People don't understand that. Like Houston is considered in the East Coast for this contract bargaining, right?
Yeah. I mean, half of the nation's ocean shipping is affected. And it says in
Maine
this
all the
article,
way down, Maine to Brownsville basically is shut down.
right, right, exactly. It says it's the first large scale strike in nearly 50 years, halting the flow of about half the country's ocean shipping after negotiations for a new labor contract broke down over wages. So apparently the negotiations are not really happening, and the strike is underway at this point. It is happening. So that's going to affect everything, really. And we're already in an inflationary period, but this is going to make it even worse.
It absolutely could if it goes on for weeks. And I get these questions from people like, they call me, they're asking me, what do you think this is going to do to to the truckload prices, right? And all I could say is it's not going to help them. I mean, this is not a capacity crunch. This is a demand crunch. There's no more demand for those truckloads on the East Coast. at least for the time being, right? There's a
Right.
severe shortage of demand. So those trucks are going to have to go do something. So at least in this region, the eastern half of the United States, and certainly along the coast, there is downward pressure on already deflated rates, at least for the time being. Now, if this lasts a week or 2 weeks, and then it's going to take us a month and a half to dig out of it, now you're going to see some pressure on rates because everybody and their brother is going to be trying to get stuff moved as quick as possible. Right.
Right.
But
Right.
for the time
Absolutely.
being, it does not help rates at all.
True. Yeah, exactly. And I would imagine that a lot of this freight is going to get rerouted to the West Coast. But that's going to add costs and time. And then all the assets needed to pull that freight inward to inland, that just can't, you can't just turn that spigot on. Like, oh, let's just move 195,000 trucks tomorrow. We've got,
Well,
it
it
takes
doesn't make the
planning.
valves on the West Coast any bigger. They're still compressed. And the other thing is this: I wonder, what do you do if you're a BCO or you're a ship owner or whatever, and you have the ability? You're the one making the call, right? Let's reroute it to the West Coast. Do you? I mean, because
Right.
it's not going to be there tomorrow.
No, not only that, you and I talked about during the recovery from the pandemic, that big bubble, if you will, there were ships backed up for months on the West Coast. I mean, literally,
Right.
like,
And so if you go there, it's not like you're going to the head of the line. You're
right,
going to the back, you're going to the back of the queue. And by the time you get there, the queue's even longer because everybody else is going. And by the time you get there, the strike could be over.
right, right.
And actually, it should be over if reasonable heads, prevail. But I haven't heard one yet. I haven't heard a reasonable comment on this yet.
Right.
Harold Daggett, I think is his name. The ILA leader, Harold Daggett. This guy is not making friends with the public. I mean, if he's out there yelling and screaming, thinking he's gaining support for his people, I don't think so. I don't think he is. I don't think the public's very happy about this in the slightest. Whining about $85,000 a year jobs that need to have a 77% increase in pay.
Right.
Excuse me, I don't get a 77% increase, and now that's over a number of years. It's like 11% a year. But do you get 11? Have you ever gotten an 11% year over year cost of living raise, Andy?
It just happens in spurts, right? Like, if you do a major league job change, that's about the only time I've ever seen that happen, right? Like going
Yeah.
to a different position. Yes, but yeah, you're right. Like in the article, it says here, USMX said in a statement, our current offer of a nearly 50% wage increase exceeds every other recent union settlement while addressing inflation and recognizing the ILA's hard work to keep the global economy running. So, I guess it seems like from the outside, it's a good offer, but Daggett said the union is pushing for more,
Yeah,
including a $5 per hour raise for each year of the new 6-year contract. So year over year, another $5 per hour increase year over year, which, that's going to affect, obviously that's going to affect rates on maritime freight and everything else as well.
Well, I mean, and I get it. If you want more money, you want more money. But it seems, at least on the outside, without knowing all the little details, if I just look at their wage right now, it's excessive. What they're asking for is excessive. And he really could have said, got you 50% raise, a 50% raise, and been a hero. Holy cow. Who has ever negotiated a 50% raise?
Right. Right.
I mean, that's fantastic. But no, we're going for 77, or we're going to shut this down and we're going to hurt. I mean, he's threatening the American people, right? On how do you negotiate with somebody like that? And so he's going to get a raise of 77% is what he wants. And in it also demand that we maintain the most inefficient ports on the planet.
Right. Yeah. And
Which isn't it?
unfortunately,
It's not an exaggeration. We're not even in the top 50.
right. And that was one of the other things I noticed in this article. The union wants to stop some of the automation.
Yeah,
They want to keep these jobs and stop the automation. And that's part of it. That's part of the negotiations back and forth. And, unfortunately, I've lived through this here in Oklahoma. We used to have a General Motors plant, and it
yeah,
employed, I believe, about 10,000 people.
yeah,
Okay. This was in the late 1980s. In the late 1980s, you had folks that were putting rivets into cars getting $45 an hour in the 1980s.
yeah.
Try and equate that to today's money, talking about what, $70 an hour, probably something along those lines.
Oh, yeah, easy.
And shut the entire plant down, negotiating for a large pay increase. And eventually, General Motors said, enough's enough. We're shutting the plant down.
Yeah. Well, we
At
can't shut
all.
down the ports though,
Right, right.
and
Can't
that's what Haggett is counting on. We can't just fire them all and bring in scabs or shut down the ports. We can't.
Right. No, they do have that. I mean, they have a lot of leverage there. You're talking about massive amounts of freight. And you're talking about shutting it down because there's no way we have the capacity in the other ports to handle that.
No, no, no. And not all the ports are union on the East Coast, but anyone of significance is that could
Right.
handle any of this with, you could throw it to a couple ports, but they're not going to move the needle. That's for sure. They're not going to do anything that
Right.
that is
Right.
impactful in any way except be busier than they are right now. But yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, what do you think of not bringing in Taft-Hartley, right? I mean, wasn't it designed? I mean, there's different reasons why it was designed and it's changed over the years, but isn't it there to prevent a massive uh, negative impact to the population and the economy while maintaining productive or any negotiations at all? Because I mean, isn't that what the purpose is?
Right. Yeah. There is that. It's, to protect the American public, basically. And no doubt coming into the holiday season, of course, there's a larger demand on things like food and beverages and things like that. And I believe if this goes on for a little while, it's going to significantly increase the cost of those goods. No doubt.
It certainly is. I mean, I'm all for fair wages, fair pay, and safe work environments and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm not necessarily anti unions. I've worked at Roadway Union Shop, never had any issues. Went through a strike in my areas, in my terminals that I had. The guys were striking outside, but when I have a customer come in and grab a shipment, they actually would put down their picket signs, come in and run the forklifts and load them up for them. And they go back out and picket because they weren't stupid. They knew that they could lose those customers forever, right? But they had their cause and it went through it. This is a bit different why it has to be such a huge fight. And, some of the rhetoric and things that are coming out of there are dangerous. You remember the desire of the independents looking for rate floors right before the pandemic hit, right? The big thing was they wanted to, they wanted a minimum rate, right, for trucking. You remember that?
Yeah.
Never heard that again. Not, but when they were making, $7 a mile, there was no rate ceiling talk. No, 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 none of that.
No.
So
No.
yeah, if you want to tie your wages to the profitability of the maritime industry, I mean, good luck, bro, because I don't think they've made money since like the 1800s until like 2020, right?
Yeah. There was a comment by the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre,
Yeah.
that said, shippers have made record profits since the pandemic, and in some cases, have seen profits grow in excess of 800%. But that was because of the boom after the
Yeah.
COVID-19 pandemic, right?
Yeah.
That's
They weren't
not
squeezing the
normal.
ILA for that money.
Yeah, it's not normal. That's not normal that we have a pandemic, shut everything off, and then we have this backlog of goods that we need really bad, and then all of a sudden we turn it back on. That's not normal.
No,
Normal
it
operation.
isn't, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, okay, so if they have record profits and stuff, then you want this. But how about when they're losing money for the next 10 years? Because that happens, and they have
Right.
to consolidate, and they go out of business and stuff like that. Are you going to take pay decreases when that happens, or just a smaller increase because they're not making any money? I mean, the argument is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. I'm hopeful that they get it worked out and we don't have a long shutdown because it will drastically affect the economy for one, and also supply chains. Like it's going to affect millions and millions of workers, and then also the general public as well.
Yeah, when you say that the disruption, I wonder how many fleets are going to be impacted by this enough that they then can impact rates across the country and kind of raise them to make up for this, right? Is there any pressure there, or does that pressure not happen because there's too many fleets? You know what I'm saying? I mean, do enough fleets participate in this area here that collectively they need to raise rates other places to make up for that loss of business to where it actually impacts national rates?
Yeah,
That's the only question I have that I in my mind I can't answer that question as far as the impact of rates
right,
during
right.
the strike.
Yeah, to me, the market will drive the rates.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's going to cost a lot of money for an East Coast carrier to relocate to the West, and they're going to have to make that up somehow, some way. I would imagine that's going to affect rates some.
Yeah.
Um, it just to me depends on how long this goes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I have one last little input here, Andy. Is I was interviewing a gentleman for our Freight Executive Insights podcast, FEI, which you guys got to check out on the same channel. It's awesome stuff. Just this morning, okay, air freight up in New England. You're gonna like this. This guy's very, very interesting. He's an old road dog like I am, or old freight dog like I am. from Carolina freight waves freight lines in the mid '80s, right? Um, but he said, they've got some major clients up there in New England, and he said he has seen because they do deal in LCL, less than container load, as well as air freight up in that area. And he said he's for the last few weeks has seen shipments start to go air freight that normally would have went LCL.
Yeah.
Um, so even air freight is being impacted a bit, and he fully expects it to be more and more as it goes. Right? I mean, I don't know if we'll see Peloton bikes being shipped and hot tubs like we did during the pandemic, but there's definitely an impact there.
Sure, absolutely. No doubt. Well, more to come on this front, I'm sure, in the weeks ahead. I'm hopeful they get something resolved for everybody's sake. And we'll have more on this as it unfolds and hopefully gets resolved. And until then, thanks for listening or watching, everybody. And we will see you again on the next one. Take care.
Amen. Peace and love.